Pokemon is turning 30, and I want to commemorate this milestone because Pokemon has been a huge part of my life for almost those entire 30 years. That's right, I've been playing, collecting, trading, watching, reading, and dreaming about Pokemon for almost 30 years. So this is a simple video just to showcase some of my favorite Pokemon moments in my Pokemon journey. When Pokemon Go first came out in 2016, I was more than excited, and I have played almost every day since. Pokemon Go made it easy for anyone with a phone to join the Pokemon community. In the first few months of the game, I remember walking around my city and the university campus with friends and meeting tons of other players. It was so much fun and so exciting. I met so many other Pokemon fanatics, and I will always have great memories of those first few months in Pokemon Go. One of my favorite memories of Pokemon Go in the first week was playing with my brother-in-law. He caught a Sandshrew and he named it Sandrew after me, and it stuck. I've been using the name Sandrew ever since. And now I've got my wife to start playing, and so we'll take our dog to the park, we'll walk around, we'll play Pokemon Go. It's so much fun. And I absolutely love playing Pokemon Go whenever I travel. Getting to see new Pokemon and experience the game in a different way than I would in my hometown. Last year, I took a trip to New York City and got to play Pokemon Go in Times Square. It was exhilarating and so incredible. This game has just been truly such a unique way to experience Pokemon. And I'm excited to see what might be coming for the 10-year anniversary later this year. I've really enjoyed the Pokemon games that have come out for the Switch so far. It's given me access to Pokemon that were impossible or nearly impossible to get before. Some games even gave me access to mythical Pokemon like Mew, Jirachi, Keldeo, pretty much all the Gen 4 mythicals. And it's made it easier to encounter shiny Pokemon, and you're even more likely to come across shiny Pokemon just during your playthrough of the games. And what's more exciting is that Pokemon released never-before shiny mythical Pokemon that we can get by completing challenges between the Switch games and Pokemon Home. I've also really enjoyed some of the cool new mechanics that the Switch games have introduced, like Terra Pokemon and Gigantamaxing. Which reminds me, I really love Pokemon Sword and Shield. I made a video over my Sword and Shield experience and hope to make videos over all of my favorite games in the series. One of the things I really love about Pokemon is the collecting aspect. Being able to collect shiny versions, different variations, regional variations, and being able to put them all into Pokemon Home, it's a perfect way to organize and sort the hundreds of Pokemon I've caught over my journey. It's incredible that I can even transfer Pokemon to Pokemon Home that I caught from my childhood, all the way back in Generation 3. And I'm constantly trying to complete collections like living dexes, shiny dexes, and regional variations, and transfer them all up into my Pokemon Home boxes. I've really enjoyed completing the challenges that Pokemon Home has given players by completing Pokédexes from the mainline Pokemon games, and the fantastic rewards that have come with it. But mostly, I love that I can save my Pokemon in Pokemon Home for years to come. Some of the most loved Pokemon games of all time have come from the DS era. My copy of Pokemon Platinum has hundreds of hours put into it, and I still have so many more things I want to accomplish. It's truly one of my favorite games. Heart Gold and Soul Silver have also spent a fair amount of time in my DS. These are some of the most in-depth games Pokemon has ever made, and I have so much fun going back to these games trying to complete challenges and events that I never even knew existed back in the day, like visiting the Sinjoh ruins and catching a level 1 Giratina. And I spent a lot of hours with Platinum and Heart Gold side by side, trading back and forth, trying to complete the Generation 4 Pokedex. The Black and White series has some incredible graphics, and even though I played through these games when they came out, I didn't realize until a couple of years ago how much is actually in the post-game of this generation, specifically the Black 2 and White 2 games. So a couple of years back, I replayed through the Black and White series to try and complete the Generation 5 Pokedex and get the shiny Haxorus from the Nature Preserve. I was a little behind getting into the 3D era of Pokemon, but when I finally picked up Pokemon X, I really enjoyed it. Even though there's not a lot to do in the post game, I still come back to this game because of how many shiny hunting methods there are. But I really loved playing through Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Generation 3 is my favorite, and I loved playing the remakes with updated graphics and mechanics, and I have way too many copies of these games. These games came out at a time where life was chaotic and stressful for me, and so I would turn to these games to help ground me and remind me that life is more than just work and paying the bills. It should be enjoyed, even if it was just for a few minutes during my lunch break. I'm so thankful for these games, and I go back to them constantly. I'm even working on a Shiny only playthrough, so check back in for updates. And of course, I've played the Sun and Moon games, especially Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. The 3DS is maybe my favorite era of Pokemon games. I play them constantly, and I absolutely love how many shiny hunting methods they have. Next, I want to talk about my experience with the Pokemon trading card game, an extremely hot topic right now in the Pokemon world during the 30th anniversary. My story will probably sound like a lot of other players. I collected the cards as a kid, base set, jungle, fossil, even some of the Generation 2 sets like Neo Genesis. But unfortunately, I lost interest in the cards as I got older, even though I never stopped playing the games. But when the pandemic of 2020 hit, I, like so many others, found the joy of collecting Pokemon cards again, and I'm so thankful I did. It helped me get through that extremely difficult time in life. And since then, I've gone back and tried to recollect all the holographic cards that I had as a kid from the first few generations of the TCG, plus adding cards that I never had the chance to get. And still 6 years later, I'm working on my collection of vintage cards. I really love going to card shows or collecticons or even traveling to new cities to check out their local card stores to see if I can find a vintage card I need for my collection. I hardly ever order cards online because I just love the feeling of finding a card in person and being able to pick it up and slide it into the vintage binder. As the prices of cards are getting more and more expensive, I've had to slow down on my collection buying, but it just makes it all more sweet when I do finally find and add a card to the binder. I of course have also been collecting some of the modern TCG, and just like when I was a kid, collecting and sharing cards with friends, I've gotten to do that now as an adult. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to go with one of my best friends to Collecticon. We both got to add some incredible cards to our collection, and it's probably my favorite memory of collecting Pokemon cards. Let me talk about where it all began for me. Pokemon Red. When I was little, my best friend at the time showed me a new game he was playing on his Game Boy Color, Pokemon Blue. It didn't take but a minute or two of me watching him play before I knew I needed a Pokemon game. I don't exactly remember how long it took, but I know eventually I got a copy of Pokemon Red. I chose Charmander as my starter because I thought Charizard looked so cool on the cover. And I was right. Charizard is still one of my all-time favorites. He was my first ever Pokemon. I remember playing Pokemon Red religiously. I could not put it down, and I got in trouble so many times because I was supposed to be asleep, but I would get caught playing Pokemon way after my bedtime. But it was so much fun trying to figure out the Pokemon world for the first time. And then being able to go back a few years later and replay these games as Fire Red and Leaf Green was truly incredible. Finally, I want to talk about my absolute favorite Pokemon memory. The memory that solidified my love for Pokemon that would last a lifetime. And it has to do with my favorite Pokemon games, Ruby and Sapphire. When I was younger, my childhood best friend, who I'm lucky enough to still have as a close friend now, showed me his new Pokemon game, Pokemon Ruby. And because I was already familiar with Pokemon and how version exclusives worked, I knew right away that I would need to get a copy of Pokemon Sapphire to play alongside him. Eventually, he and I would spend hours after school and on weekends together playing these games side by side. cheering each other on when we were battling a gym leader or the Elite Four, and catching version exclusive Pokemon to trade back and forth to try to help each other complete our Pokedexes. But my favorite part about playing Ruby and Sapphire with him was when we were trying to track down Latias and Latios. We had no idea back then how to strategize catching roaming Pokemon. We would just run around and hoping to encounter it, and then when one of us did, we would stop and watch each other try to weaken or catch it before it fled, and then we'd go back to trying to find it again. This obviously took a long time and several different evenings of hanging out together before we both finally caught them. Of course, we're watching Pokemon Heroes the movie and other Pokemon anime the whole time, and once we caught them, we traded them back and forth to help fill out our Pokedexes. It was this memory that made Latios and Latias my favorite Pokemon of all time. And so I've collected these Pokemon every chance I could get during the rest of my Pokemon journey. In the games, the TCG, plushies, figures, shinies, you name it, these Pokemon give me so much nostalgia and joy, and I'm so thankful for the great times I had playing Ruby and Sapphire with my best friend back then. I know there's so much more to Pokemon in the last 30 years than what I've covered in this video, but I just wanted to hit the highlights of some of my favorite Pokemon journey memories. I can't wait to make more content and share more of my Pokemon collection and journey with the community, and I'm excited to see what else Pokemon has in store. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, I hope you appreciate every moment in your Pokemon journey.